Morning, everybody. I just want to introduce the folks that are up here with me. I'll start with Cohoes Police Chief Todd Walden, Assistant Chief Tim Keefe, from the Cohoes Detective Bureau, Scott McGowan, and Matt Orton. We're also joined from the New York State Police Troop G, the Troop Commander, Chris Gilroy, BCI Captain Robert McConnell, and from the U.S. Marshals, Deputy U.S. Marshal Brendan Connors. Cohoes has had 34 homicides over the last 50 years, so we average one about every 18 months. So the last one was 2 years ago. We have very few on the hill section of our city. It's a suburban area. In fact, I grew up in that area, very quiet. 10 days ago, Cohoes police responded to assist with a call for a welfare check. And upon arrival, they found a 41-year-old female victim, deceased. She'd been stabbed to death, likely the day prior. At that time, her live-in boyfriend was gone on arrival, and he was naturally a person of interest, somebody that the police wanted to talk to. Data regarding the registration on his truck was entered into a system, and the LPRs, the license plate readers, indicated the truck had traveled northbound from Cohoes. The vehicle was located by troopers in Troop B up in Franklin County. A search of that area was conducted over the next 10 days. Helicopters, drones, grid searches. In fact, yesterday, Cohoes Police Department sent 6 officers to participate in that. Also yesterday, New York State Police Troop B in Raybrook held a press conference. Basically, they were looking for public assistance, see something, say something. Meanwhile, back here in Cohoes, interviews and evidence collected eventually pointed to Anthony Bechand, not just as a person of interest, but as a suspect. This morning, a civilian spotted Bechand walking on the road about 3 miles from where the truck had been abandoned. Troopers from Troop B located and arrested Bechand. We're grateful. I want to thank Chief Walden, the Cohoes Police Department, for the great job that they did in this investigation, both the uniform patrols and the Detective Bureau. And I especially want to thank all the outside agencies that contributed significant resources to this search, beginning with the New York State Police Troop G, the Major Crimes Unit, the Forensic Investigation Unit, the Aviation Unit, the folks up in Troop B, the Major Crimes Unit up there, BCI and uniform patrols, New York State Forest Rangers, Saranac Lake PD, and of course the U.S. Marshals, and also the civilians who participated in the searches up there. And lastly, I just want to say our hearts go out to the family of Amanda Rodriguez. Hopefully this arrest brings a measure of closure in advance of her services, which is, I believe, Saturday up in Altona, which is just north of Plattsburgh. At this time, I'll turn it over to Cohoes Police Chief Todd Walden.
Thank you. As the mayor mentioned, this was a tremendous effort put on by many agencies. The ones he mentioned, and also the Lake Placid and Plattsburgh City Police Department, Ticonderoga Police Department, the Clinton and Essex County Sheriff's Offices, and the District Attorney for Franklin County, as well as the Northern Regional Response Team. Enough cannot be said about the effort put forth by all these agencies in the course of the last 12 days. It is a very difficult task to have 2 different locations when you have a crime. We have the crime scene here in Cohoes, and then we have the abandoned truck up in the northern part of the state. I will say, though, that the communication and the teamwork was absolutely flawless in this case. Daily updates were going between Cohoes Police Department, the troopers, the marshals when they got involved. Obviously, you know how to coordinate with the press, and everything can be a difficult thing, but I've never seen an operation move as seamlessly as this one did. And thankfully today we're here to tell you that we have a positive result in the apprehension of Mr. Bechand. I would just ask, when you have your questions, if you could try and direct them to someone in particular. Obviously, I'll answer any questions as much as I can about the Cohoes part of it. We have representatives from the state police here who can answer any questions, again, if appropriate, about their involvement and different parts of the investigation.
Chief, you mentioned yesterday that there were some injuries, that he had some injuries. To find him just walking along the side of the road, a very public road.
That's the information we have at this point. Obviously, this has all transpired rather quickly. I will say that I do believe the press conference that was held up in Troop B was instrumental. I think it was important. The information had been put out very early on. The suspect's description, his photo was released, but I think it was a great idea to refresh that information in case somebody missed it, or to reassure people that if you had seen him, if you had potentially given him a ride somewhere and you were unaware of the circumstances, you won't be in any trouble. But if you see anything at all, you have to let us know. And here we are the next morning. I believe it was 2 calls came in. One person states that they did recognize him from the release. Another person just thought this person looked out of place when they had seen him, and that led directly to his apprehension. So that worked.
What sort of shape was he in, physically, when he was brought in?
I don't know that. He's still up in Troop B for the time being, so I really don't have those details.
And we heard from somebody that the entire attack on Ms. Rodriguez may have been caught on a ring doorbell or some sort of home surveillance system. Is there anything we can confirm about that?
I said previously that we had a potential prosecution that would take place in this case. Well, now it's definitive that there is a court case that needs to follow, so we cannot get into some of the details about the evidence we have. We cannot jeopardize this case. I understand the public's need to know, and we're trying to balance that out, but there are certain things that you're going to hear us say we cannot speak about at this time.
Chief, was there a history at this address?
Zero history, and just to clarify that, neither one of them had a criminal record. We've stated that previously, but it is extremely rare, and again, one of the unique parts of this case was we didn't even have one call to that residence. You could not have a criminal history, but you could have the police called to your house because you're having a verbal argument, because there's loud noise, because there's a disturbance. Any one of a number of things can generate that response, and in this case, in the 10 years that she resided at that house, we don't have a single call for anything. That's going to be revealed later on. I can't speak about the charges now, and I'm sure there will be potentially additional charges. There is still a lot of evidence that needs to be checked on. There's a lot of the electronic evidence that we spoke of before. There's things involving phones that could potentially lead to more charges or an upgrade in charges. So we have some of them set now, but there'll be developments on that.
Yesterday you seemed pretty confident that you were looking for this individual. You wouldn't go and say that there was anyone else you were looking at. Are you still confident this is the only person you're looking at this point?
Absolutely. When the investigation begins, you have to look at everybody. You have to look at all the family members, close friends, co-workers, and when you start to talk to all of them, and the one person you cannot find is the person who lives with her and is her intimate partner and whose vehicle was seen there at the time the incident took place and then seen leaving shortly thereafter. He moves from a person of interest days later into obviously a suspect. Since then, as we said yesterday, there is a lot of evidence here that we are convinced that it is Mr. Bechand who committed this crime.
Chief, what was Bechand's condition when you found him? Was he found any belongings?
I have no knowledge of that right now.
You have any knowledge?
I was just saying, in terms of the apprehension, as well as knowing he was on a public road, did he go willingly or was there a reason?
I have nothing that would tell me otherwise. I just know that he was spotted walking on a public street, and then the troopers approached him. He was taken into custody. I'm not sure if we have any other information.
Without incident.
Have you learned more details as to why you chose to escape to Franklin County?
No.
Chief, you spoke about just the wide coordination between agencies that you guys had. I guess roughly, to get an estimate, how many miles did you search as a collective agency to find?
I'm not sure if we have that information. Again, unfortunately, due to the timing of everything, we couldn't have any representatives from Troop B down here, and it was Troop B and the Marshal Service that handled a lot of the search. I was up there yesterday and I was viewing what areas they had searched. And it may not sound like a lot when you say we've searched 1.5 miles from the truck, but you have to understand the terrain up there and the fact that you don't always start closest to the truck and move out from it. You have to check other places like the abandoned prison they talked about, schools that are opening soon, hunting camps, of which I was told there was over 1,000 to check. I know they had checked 270 of those. You have to check residences, you have to check motels. So it was a very complicated search, and they were just doing an outstanding job with trying to structure how to cover as much as they could in the short time that they had done so already. And they were continuing to go at that, as the Marshal Smith had said yesterday, full steam ahead. There was no thoughts of drawing back on this or decreasing the amount of effort that was going to be put into it.
Maybe the state police or BCI can shed some light on this. Is this one of the bigger manhunts we've seen in the state? If you could come up to the podium.
Oh, sure. I would say, obviously, a significant number of resources were utilized in this case, as the chief and the mayor had highlighted. A number of both local, state, and federal agencies were involved in this. Obviously, there have been a number of manhunts in the past, going back 10 years ago to the Dannemora prison escape with 2 convicted killers, and that went on for several weeks. I mean, compared to that, no, but every available resource that we could muster were utilized during the course of this investigation.
Was this the biggest one since Dannemora, are you aware?
I can't speak to up north. I mean, as far as the capital region, yes. I mean, it was a significant number of resources, yes.
And to be clear, he is still up in Rayburn. Has not been brought back to...
Currently, he was apprehended around 7:30 a.m. So yes, he's still up in the Raybrook area at this time.
Major, his injuries, can you elaborate a little bit on what were the nature of the...
Unfortunately, I cannot. I can't speak to that, other than to echo the fact that both New York State troopers and I believe the Franklin County deputy had apprehended him without incident on the side of the road.
Anything else? Okay, thank you all.
Do you guys know, we heard that there was a hearing this afternoon.
We're still working out the logistics of where he'll be processed and when he'll be arraigned. Constantly speaking with them up there. It's difficult to come up with a time frame, because it's not just the distance factor, but also some of the things being in regards to him up there.
So he's still up there?
He is still up there. Absolutely 100%. And we were in communications about what we would do in the future.
He's not going to a hospital or...